How does one single person reshape the entire globe's pop culture? Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today, we're taking a comprehensive, strictly factual deep dive into one of the most famous figures in modern human history. We're going to examine the monumental career, the absolutely unparalleled cultural impact, and the deeply complex life of Michael Jackson. From his early origins all the way to his status as a global icon, we're going to look at the data, the timelines, and the historical record to understand the whole picture.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with his rise to solo stardom, move into the King of Pop era, then we'll cover the controversies and accusations, his final years in death, and finally wrap up with his unprecedented legacy.
Section 1. Rise to solo stardom. Starting from a working-class household in Gary, Indiana, his meteoric rise is just undeniable. Born in 1958, he was the eighth of 10 children, and he emerged as a child prodigy under the intense and often demanding direction of his father. By 1964, at literally just 6 years old, he joined his siblings to form what would eventually become the Jackson 5. Fast forward to 1969, and they're making their national television debut. Michael very quickly became the group's main attraction, obviously, thanks to his overwhelming musical gifts. But the defining transition away from that bubblegum pop youth, that happened a decade later, in 1979, when he released his breakthrough solo album, Off the Wall. This was huge. It established him as a mature, complex solo artist and sold over 20 million copies. Now, what's really interesting about the slide is realizing his unique artistry wasn't just raw, unpolished talent. It was built on the meticulous study of the legends who came before him. For instance, he was absolutely mesmerized by the energetic performances of James Brown. He also closely studied Diana Ross, effectively adopting some of her vocal techniques, like that famous "ooh" interjection. And his love for the choreography of the film West Side Story, that heavily influenced his own later music videos, like Beat It. He took all these distinct elements and synthesized them to create a style that was entirely his own.
Section 2. The King of Pop.
To really understand the scale of this fame, look no further than this number, 70 million. That's the estimated number of global copies sold of his 1982 album Thriller. It literally became the best-selling album in history. We're talking about an album that topped the Billboard 200 for 37 weeks and generated 7 top 10 singles. Thriller wasn't just a hit record, you guys. It was a total global phenomenon. It conquered racial divides and transformed Jackson into an absolute juggernaut in pop culture. And his live performances scaled right alongside those record-breaking album sales. His massive world tours drew millions of fans across the globe. Just look at the numbers. His Dangerous World Tour in the early 90s brought in 3.5 million people, and his subsequent History World Tour pushed that number even higher, playing to more than 4.5 million fans across 5 continents. He was a global touring powerhouse, plain and simple. Central to that insane live appeal was, of course, the moonwalk. Taught to him by dancer Jeffrey Daniel, Jackson debuted this gravity-defying movement during a 1983 television special that was broadcast to 47 million viewers. It instantly became his signature move. It's arguably one of the most famous dance steps of the entire 20th century, cementing his reputation forever as an extraordinary visual artist and dancer.
Section 3. Controversies and accusations.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because as his fame reached heights pretty much unseen by any other entertainer, his personal life became the subject of intense tabloid scrutiny and very serious legal challenges. Looking strictly at the objective legal timeline here, in 1993, Jackson faced the first allegations of child sexual abuse, which resulted in a multi-million-dollar out-of-court civil settlement. By 1994, the criminal investigation was closed without an indictment due to a lack of evidence. Then, a second set of allegations arose in 2003, and that led to formal charges. This resulted in a highly publicized trial in 2005. At the end of that trial, Jackson was fully acquitted on all counts by a jury. But the legal scrutiny continued even after his passing. Between 2013 and 2014, Wade Robson and James Safechuck filed civil lawsuits alleging abuse. Between 2015 and 2021, these cases were dismissed by judges primarily due to statutes of limitations. However, following changes in California state law regarding those statutes, an appeals court in 2023 actually overturned the previous rulings. This allowed these civil cases against Jackson's corporation to move forward to trial. Section 4. Final years and death. So the crucial point is that his later life was defined by a truly stunning duality. On one hand, his philanthropy was historic. I mean, he supported 39 charities and donated an estimated $500 million throughout his life. He really set a new standard for celebrity humanitarianism. But on the other hand, despite his massive career earnings, his lavish lifestyle and compounding loans led to some crippling financial realities. By 2009, he had accumulated nearly $500 million in debt and was literally facing foreclosure on his Neverland ranch. Driven in part by this crushing financial pressure, the rapid sequence of his final days unfolded in 2009. In March, he announced the This Is It comeback residency in London, which was a massive series of 50 sold-out shows. But tragedy struck on June 25th, just weeks before the tour was supposed to begin. Jackson suffered a fatal cardiac arrest caused by an overdose of the anesthetic propofol, which was administered by his personal physician. The very next month, the world mourned through a globally televised memorial service. And the sheer scale of the global reaction to his death is almost difficult to comprehend. An estimated 2.5 billion viewers tuned in to watch that memorial service. To put that into perspective, news of his passing put an unprecedented strain on the internet itself, crashing websites and causing global web traffic to surge by up to 20%. The entire world essentially stopped to watch the farewell of the King of Pop. Section 5. An unprecedented legacy. The ongoing financial power of his estate really highlights his lasting relevance. Just look at this figure, $600 million. In 2024, nearly 15 years after his death, Sony Music acquired half of Jackson's publishing rights and recording masters for this astronomical amount. It represents one of the largest music acquisitions for a single artist in history, pushing his post-mortem career earnings well past the $3 billion mark. And this brilliantly illustrates his vast cultural impact beyond just the finances. He fundamentally changed the medium of the music video, famously breaking racial barriers on MTV with cinematic shorts like Thriller and Billie Jean. If you enjoy modern pop, K-pop, or cinematic music videos today, you are looking directly at his footprint. His aesthetic and sound became the backbone for global genres, influencing everything from modern K-pop routines to Bollywood choreography. He remains the most awarded music artist in history, and researchers have even noted that his level of global fame is comparable to historical figures like Confucius or Napoleon. Perhaps the legendary Motown founder Berry Gordy summarized it best at Jackson's memorial service when he simply stated, "The greatest entertainer that ever lived." Coming from the man who actually helped launch his career and witness the evolution of modern pop music firsthand, those words carry an incredible amount of weight. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up our explainer today. As the decades pass, how will history ultimately weigh his unparalleled musical genius against the deeply complex reality of his life? The data, the records, and the cultural shifts he engineered are gonna last forever. But the complete picture of Michael Jackson will always remain one of the most fascinating and debated stories of the modern era. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this profound legacy. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.